name is Kipp and I'm on the board of directors of the Utah Native Plant Society. For the past 13 years, I have been part of a Utah cactus group which includes Albertine Stock, Blake Weller, Tony Freitas, and the late Gordy Woodruff, and Ty Harrison. We have documented, mapped, studied, and performed chromosome counts in all the cacti species of Utah in hopes of clearing up numerous taxonomic issues and to get a better understanding of the cacti species that are found within our state. A new publication, The New Nomenclatural Combinations and Types for Cactaceae in Utah, has been submitted for publication this week in Hazletonia, and a book on the cacti of Utah will be published in the upcoming year. Today, both Jared Riggs and myself will discuss two unique cacti that are found in our state and clear up some taxonomic mysteries and provide answers to their origins and natural history. Opuntia woodburyi is a Utah endemic that is found only in the Warner Valley of Utah. It is a stabilized hybrid between Opuntia aurea and Opuntia pincave. This photo is an example of a typical plant. Opuntia woodburyi has had a very interesting taxonomic history. First described by W. H. Earl in 1980, it was originally listed as Opuntia basilaris variety woodburyi. It's problematic because he did not indicate a specific holotype, and more importantly, the original stem segments and flowers were taken at different times and thus did not qualify as type material. The taxon, however, was inadvertently validated by Welsh 1982 in his publication of Utah plant types by associating it with the specimen. As you can see, Welsh had cited it as the following, and thus it can be argued that Welsh inadvertently validated the name per communication of James Reveal and Gandhi in 2012. The specimen was not located at Brigham Young in 2014 and 2016, hence we have designated an epitype and isoepitypes. Here is a herbarium voucher that has flowers that were collected at different times. It also has Opuntia woodburyi as a variety of Opuntia basilaris, to which it has no relation. Dean Stock recently elevated Opuntia basilaris variety woodburyi to simply Opuntia woodburyi, as it has no relation to Opuntia basilaris. So the epitype has been designated here as Utah, Washington County, Warner Valley Red Sand area at east end of valley, elevation 3285 feet, April 4th, 2012, by Albert Dean Stock. Epitypes and isoepitypes have been deposited in herbaria. In this slide, I managed to map the entire distribution of Opuntia woodburyi in blue. And as you can see, it is only found in the Warner Valley between Sand Hollow and the Arizona border. This population is separated from all other Opuntia aurea, Opuntia pincave hybrid populations. This is the typical habitat in which it grows. It likes the sandy soils of the Moenkopi Formation and grows with creosote and other desert shrubs and yucca. As mentioned earlier, Opuntia woodburyi is the result of a past hybridization event between Opuntia aurea, which is an allohexaploid, and Opuntia pincave, which is an allooctoploid. This population is somewhat isolated from all other populations, and it occurs at a lower elevation in a different vegetative zone. There are extensive populations of Opuntia aurea and Opuntia pincave, hybrids growing in P&J communities around Zion, Smithsonian Butte, the Arizona Strip, and extending just east of Kanab. These hybrid populations are very unstable, have a ploidy of 66 to 110, and have an extensive range of morphological traits of both parents. This is a photo of one of the putative parents, Opuntia aurea, which is found in the area northwest to northeast of Kanab, so just basically east of Zion National Park to the western edge of the Grand Staircase. Growing in sandy soils, it has bluish-green pads, golden yellow flowers, and lax spines. This plant superficially resembles Opuntia basilaris, except that it has a more sprawling growth habit. Apuntia pincave has spines on the upper third of the pad and numerous glochids. Its flowers are pink. The plants grow from Kanab south to southwest along the Arizona Strip to Main Street Valley. Neither Apuntia pincave or Apuntia aurea grow in the area around the Warner Valley. Apuntia erinacea is the only other Apuntia found growing in Warner Valley, and it is not abundant in any way. But it is possible that it may hybridize with Apuntia woodburyii. We have found no evidence that it does, but such crossing may go unnoticed. Morphologically speaking, Apuntia woodburyii forms small shrubs which are clumping to sprawling, prostrate, seldom more than one stem segment high, up to 24 centimeters tall. The stem segments themselves are narrowly elliptoid to broadly ovate, 7 to 20 centimeters long, 7 to 11 centimeters wide, light green. The spines are 0 to 2 per areole. In the distal, 20 to 40% of areoles erect or reflexed, yellow or slowly aging to gray, straight to curved, usually flattened, 2 to 5 centimeters long. They have numerous glochids, very conspicuous, especially in older stem segments. Flowers are 6.3 to 9.6 centimeters wide. Inner tepals light pink to dark pink, stamen filaments yellow to magenta, anthers yellow, style white to pale pink, stigma lobes green. The fruit is more or less cylindrical, 2.7 to 4.1 centimeters long, 1.5 to 1.7 centimeters wide, tan and dry at maturity. Glabrous to papillate, the areoles 35 to 44 spineless. Seeds are oval to subcircular, often warped, 5 to 8 millimeters wide, tan, the funicular girdle extending 1 to 1.5 millimeters. Currently, the western area of the Warner Valley is being developed for housing. This area contains a significant portion of the entire population where it is most dense. The cacti decrease in numbers and density going from west to east in the Warner Valley. Climate change is impacting plants with hotter temps and decreased precipitation. The area is also heavily impacted by ATV use, camping, and target shooting. If conservation measures aren't taken soon, we could lose this unique cactus. So here's another picture of a typical Apuntia woodbury. As you can see, it's very loaded with glochids, has very few spines, and is an impressive plant. I will now turn my time over to Jared, who will discuss another hybrid-derived cactus.
Hello, my name is Jared Higgs. I am also on the board of directors of the Utah Native Plant Society and the president of the newly reinstated San Rafael chapter, formerly called the Price chapter. I've been helping out with some of the fieldwork for Dean Stock and Kipp. I'm just happy to be here and have some familiarity with this super cool hybrid. This plant is found within Bears Ears National Monument in the Butler Wash area and in Hovenweep National Monument. I'll show you a more detailed view of their locations in a few slides. Bears Ears has gone through some changes since its original proposal, but these plants have remained protected through that time. Here we see a typical Cylindropuntia whipplei with its low growth habit and yellow flowers. Note that its distribution reaches up into our area of interest in the southeast corner of Utah. Here we see a typical Cylindropuntia imbricata with a more open and upright growth habit and magenta flowers. This species is absent through much of Cylindropuntia whipplei's distribution. Note that the locations marked in southwest Colorado are actually our hybrid plants of interest. Here finally we have our hybrid of interest with intermediate characters between Cylindropuntia whipplei and Cylindropuntia imbricata. Flower color is that of a nice orangey pink. This picture is of a particularly healthy individual with more upright growth habit. This hybrid can be found in several locations scattered kind of loosely around the Four Corners area. As promised, here's a closer look at our area of interest. We have over here the Hovenweep population, there near the Colorado border, and to the east along Comb Ridge we have our main population here. There is one single plant over here, and we've seen introgressed individuals closer to Whippleye over here on this side. We consider this hybrid to be correctly identified as Cylindropuntia viridiflora for reasons I will discuss shortly. These plants are a stable natural hybrid between Cylindropuntia imbricata and Cylindropuntia whipplei, both of which share the same ploidy. In Utah, they are generally found on sandstone in sandy soil. There are at least 100 plants in the northern Butler Wash area, with at least one individual at River House Ruins there on the bottom of Comb Ridge, and hybrid plants can be found to the west of Comb Wash, more closely aligned to whipplei. An additional 100 plants can be found in Hovenweep National Monument. Other plants, as discussed, can be found in Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. Cylindropuntia imbricata is not native to Utah, though we have had cultivated plants escape in Grand County and the Castle Valley area, and they are potentially actively recruiting there. There are no Cylindropuntia whipplei on Butler Wash or Comb Ridge, and the nearest plants can be found 2.9 miles to the west. Pinkava and Barker, regarding the origins of Cylindropuntia imbricata, state that this plant was distributed by Native Americans. Barnett and Barnett further hypothesize that the ancient Pueblo people cultivated Cylindropuntia imbricata, and this resulted in its hybridization with Cylindropuntia whipplei. We've hypothesized that Cylindropuntia imbricata may have migrated up the San Juan River system during some warmer period, as seen with other species, such as Opuntia basilaris on the Colorado River system. In 2016, Barnett and Barnett described Cylindropuntia anasazensis based on smaller flowers and sterile to nearly sterile anthers. But we consider Cylindropuntia anasazensis an unneeded renaming of Cylindropuntia viridiflora. Plants examined from the Butler Wash area have abundant pollen on all flowers and constitute a breeding population very similar to plants in New Mexico. We also found fruits bearing seeds, although not in large numbers, in the Butler Wash population. These plants are openly branched, upright shrubs to low and sprawling, combining the characteristics of both parental species. Stem segments are firmly attached and cylindric, with stem tubercles raised, 14 to 37 millimeters long, appearing much more like those of imbricata than whipplei. Areoles are elliptic. Spines are in most areoles 7 to 10 of various lengths and not arranged in a cross configuration. Sheath generally tan to gray. Flowers are 4.5 to 6 centimeters long and 4.5 to 6 centimeters wide. Color varies from yellow to peach to dark pink. Yellow flowers are rare in some areas but common in others, especially west of Comb Ridge. Stamen filaments are pale yellow to green, anthers yellow, stigma lobes pale green. Fruits yellow to tan when mature, fleshy, spineless, 24 to 40 millimeters long, 19 to 22 millimeters wide, often retained from one blooming season to the next before drying and falling. In Utah, all plants have been found within national monuments, and they are associated with ancient Puebloan ruins. Populations are small, and they do show signs of recruitment, but more studies are needed. Climate change appears to be the biggest threat as summers become hotter and drier, especially with these plants growing in sandy soil on top of the sandstone. Here we see a picture of the habitat for the Butler Wash population with its sandstone and sandy soil. You can see a number of plants in this picture showing the general size of these individuals. They don't get too big generally, but you can see that they are kind of intermediate between those two species discussed previously. Here we can see some pictures of the flower color variation in the Butler Wash area. Generally, plants are this pink-orange color, but there was one single individual which was yellow flowered, and some of the plants were more imbricata-like with more reddish flower colors. Okay, here we see in these pictures the form variation within the Butler Wash individuals. On the left, we have the more common form with its pink orange flowers, And to the right, we have the more reddish colored flowers. It's kind of hard to tell in this picture, but you can see that the stems on this individual are more like imbricata than the individuals on the left. Here we have two pictures of the single individual with yellow flowers. It looks very similar to the rest of the individuals there in the Butler Wash population, with the exception of these awesome yellow flowers. Here is two pictures of an individual to the west of the Butler Wash population, among the more Whipple-eye type plants, which shows some introgression. Okay, here we see a habitat photo for the plants in Hovenweep. Notice the sandstone with sandy soils. Okay, here we see an individual here with a particularly imbricata-like growth habit, which kind of stood out among the population there. Here we have two pictures showing the flower color for the Hovenweep population. They are more closely aligned to imbricata in flower color. Okay, here we have some data provided by Michelle Cloud-Hughes. Thank you, Michelle. Showing measurements for Whipple-eye and imbricata. And then there on the right, we have measurements from Butler Wash, and then a hypothetical Whipple-eye hybridized with imbricata, showing what this hybrid between the two would hypothetically look like. And that's the end. Thank you for watching. We'd like to give special thanks to Dean Stock and Michelle Cloud-Hughes.